Also, Modellista, a game developed at Capcom by the same director as games from the Devil May Cry series, was initially released in 2002 to mixed reviews from critics. This was one of the many competitors to the giant that was Gran Turismo. Unlike the competition, it had a cel-shaded visual style, beating EA games by over 20 years and aging better than a lot of its contemporaries. Capcom's first racing game was not Auto Modellista. It was in fact F1 Dream, released in 1988. However, Auto Modellista was their first racing game in the era of 3D home consoles. It was released initially on the PlayStation 2 between 2002 and 2003, depending on what region you're from, followed by a GameCube release in 2003, and finally an Xbox release in late January of 2004. At launch, critics gave this game mixed reviews due to the game's campaign being too short and for the handling being not ideal. Surprisingly, this is one of the 6, or 7 if you count the US version as a separate game, Capcom games to feature online support on the PlayStation 2. Unsurprisingly, online support ended a good couple years ago for the PS2 version, although apparently the multiplayer mode is still functioning on the Xbox version through Xbox Live. Anyway, enough talking over the preview of this game, let's get into the game itself. The footage that was displayed in the background there was the opening cinematic. Welcome to 2003. Once we're past these screens, we are greeted with a number of options. Garage Life, Arcade, VJ and Theatre, Network, Options and Save. Garage Life is essentially this game's campaign mode. Immediately after entering the Garage Life mode, we meet the funky background music, which unfortunately I will have to replace with royalty-free hotel lobby music if I ever want this video to be monetized in the future. Unable to think of anything else, I named my garage Neon. I am also given a selection of free garage styles. I chose Type 2, similar to the type of diabetes that you're. The game also offers a decent selection of cars, mostly from Japanese brands, but I can choose almost any popular car from a Ford Mustang to a Toyota Corolla. The car I chose was this red Nissan Skyline RSX. The game also prompted me to name the car, so I simply named it R30. After this, I chose to give my Skyline a normal Japanese format plate, with no relation to anything else whatsoever. In the garage, I'm given the options to change my car, tune my Skyline, change the design of my garage again, an option called Subgarage which I never really looked into, but I presume it's to do with the other cars that you can get in this game, race, status, secret, email, yes, this game has an email mode, and to save the game, which is hopefully quite self-explanatory. Out of curiosity, the first one I opened was email. It acts as a way for the game to teach you about concepts in the game, such as tuning, racing, and characteristics of the platform of the car you are driving. In the case of my Skyline, a front-engine rear-wheel drive platform. There's also a guide on how to use the email system in the email menu, so I think you've pretty much figured it out if you're reading that guide. In the Tune Car menu, there is 4 options. Easy Tune Up, which gives you presets for each track, Tune Up, which allows you to manually choose what parts are on your car, Dress Up, which allows you to make cosmetic changes to your car such as the paint or the body kit, and Test Run, which is another thing which I really do hope is self-explanatory. After a light bit of panicking because I thought my emulator crashed after loading the Tune Up option, the game gives me a list of parts I can install in my Skyline, everything from new tyres to weight reduction kits and turbochargers. Interestingly, this game has branded parts in each category. To my surprise, a wide range of parts were already unlocked. I assume this is so lower power cars such as an MX-5 are more competitive with other cars that may appear in a race. After giving my monosodium glutamate plated Skyline an additional 55 horsepower, I went to dress up mode to change the way it looked. The paint mode has a surprisingly high number of paint slots available, even putting Forza Horizon 5's advanced paint mode to shame. Another feature almost 20 years ahead of its time. The custom parts mode also feels ahead of its time to me. Gran Turismo 4 released over 2 years after the initial release of Auto Modellista, and didn't have a feature remotely close to this. This game even has an option to add a wide body kit to my Skyline, but despite all of the options I was given, I kept the Skyline relatively untouched cosmetically, only opting to change out the original wheels for a set of Watanabes. I admittedly forgot to mute the background music before my first race, and I'm not sure whether the background music is copyrighted or not on YouTube, so enjoy the absence of game noise for the next minute or so. One of the first things I noticed about race mode is how well it has aged visually. Other than low resolution textures and jagged lines likely caused by the emulator I'm using, or suboptimal graphic settings on the emulator, which is probably my fault, the cel-shaded visuals definitely help. I've often heard people saying that other games from this time period, such as The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, have visually aged well when compared to other games in the same series due to the visual style. and in a case like this, I can really understand why. Simply improving the resolution of UI elements and background textures would almost be enough to make the racing mode look as if it's from a significantly newer game, although the replay mode really does show how low detail some of the car models are, especially when in a race. Another detail I noticed in the first race were anime-esque lines that appeared around the screen, giving a more convincing sense of speed. Back in the garage, I decided to use one of the game's additional features, the Garage Customizer. Unlike the disappointment that was the Forza Horizon Houses system, this game actually lets you customize the layout of your garage. It is limited to floor props and posters such as this tool shelf, another tool shelf, and IKEA shelving. However, this feature did impress me, considering that this is a game from 2002 and I cannot think of a single modern game with a feature like this. After decorating my garage, I went to my next race, which was in one of the game's few United States maps, all of which are oval races. Although the vibrant colours definitely show off this game's cell shading well. Another visual effect I noticed here were lines coming off the wheels with each drift, and a decently good looking backfire effect. As it turns out, you don't actually have to complete every race in a series to progress to the next level, and after completing this, I received the ability to further upgrade my skyline and some more decorations for my garage, alongside an email. I tried to use my skyline to complete in the next level, choosing the first race to be on Mount Akagi. Something does tell me that the developers of this game were indeed fans of the series' initial D. The race even had Shingo at the start line. As soon as the race started, the Miyogi Night Kids immediately accelerated to Mach 2 while I accidentally shifted my skyline into second gear, before severely misjudging several corners and deciding to quit the race. It was at this point I realised that the accelerator and brake don't use analog controls, essentially working as on-off switches rather than actual pedals. Because I only had to win 2 races to progress to the next level though, I decided to try a slightly less technical track. After a tense battle between my awfully driven Skyline and a Honda Civic leading to me narrowly claiming the victory, I realised that my Skyline was simply not going to cut it anymore, and went for this Yellow Lancer Evolution 3 with a personalised number plate. I don't want to scream. My vocal cords would be fucked if I try. Before I actually took it to the track though, it would need to be modified just so it's definitely unbeatable. So I modified it to produce over 400 horsepower, which was, I will admit, a little bit of an upgrade from my Skyline's 270. The first race in the Evo would also give me a chance to see how rain affects the handling of cars in this game. My professional answer to that is just a bit. Maybe it was because I was in an all-wheel drive car, and maybe it was because it's my first time driving it, but the car felt very controllable in the rain. Although the rain splashing over the front of the car was definitely a neat effect. Another small detail I noticed when racing the Evo rather than in the Skyline is that the tachometer changes depending on what car you're actually driving. After a slightly too easy race in the Evo, I was rewarded with even more posters and emails. I do feel as if going through the whole Garage Life game mode would get tedious, so I'll finish it with talking about mountain pass races, such as this race on Rocco Hill. This map is where, in my opinion, the game looks its best. The cell shading really helps make the game look vibrant. Something else that I noticed on this track was that brakes glow on your car after braking, which is very impressive for a game released 23 years ago. Although, one issue I would like to highlight, which is very noticeable on the mountain pass roads, is that the AI lacks awareness of the drivers around them, which leads to them often colliding with you. Another issue that I can see with this is that the AI also sometimes forgets how to take corners entirely. This is most noticeable with cars coming to a complete stop on Mount Akagi, but it can be seen on other Toge races as well. Overall, I can see why this game received negative reviews at launch. The lack of analog input for accelerators and brakes is more than noticeable at times, but I definitely found this game to be fun. The customization and tuning mechanics are seriously impressive, but I feel the game can be let down by the monotony of the Garage Life mode. Playing with the background music really helps break this up and makes the game a lot more enjoyable, although the soundtrack, at least in my opinion, is nowhere near as memorable as the soundtrack from a game such as Gran Turismo 3 or Gran Turismo 4. I would not say that this is a bad game in the slightest. In fact, I would highly recommend playing it if you can. However, the most memorable part of the game to me is simply the art style. Although, I would definitely like to see another home console game like Modellista come out today, as the game that reminds me the most of Modellista is an arcade game that's mostly limited to Japan, that being Initial D arcade stage. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and if it's your first time here, then welcome to the channel, I guess. This video is very different from my regular format, I will admit, but I did enjoy making this video. And if you like what you watch, I encourage you to subscribe and like the video. And if you've got any feedback or even just suggestions on how to ruin a car in automation, please do comment with them below. So, thanks for watching. Somewhat similar to the car made yesterday with McLaren EcoBoost, I'm going to be trying to make a Kei Super car in automation. So I searched up the size restrictions for a Kei car, which is 3.4 meters in length, 1.8 meters in width, and 2 meters in height, with a maximum engine capacity of 660 cubic centimeters. I think this body is Gilbert with a lawnmower. I severely doubt that that's actually Kei-sized. The Duck Pond Special, I think that is. I'm not going to be using that, because that is a trailer. It's Boris! Hello, Boris. I'm not going to be using you. I think no. Just no with that one. That is not happening. I think this is a knockoff XJ220. It needs to be lightweight, fiberglass, monocoque, corrosion resistant, double wishbone in the front, and double wishbone in the back. Hold on, what was that paint just called again? Roof. Oh, Kankaju. I misread that as Kanjizoku. Would have been a cool name for this paint, but we can't have cool things. Now, he's from 2016, so he should have some modern headlights on him. He does not look happy. He just looks really quite depressed. Which is a good thing for scale, because those are Corvette headlights, and that's how big our car is. Those headlights don't look that big on a Corvette. I mean, yeah. It works. The plate is absolutely massive compared to the front of the car, with a couple ducts on the front bonnet. Drag the front plate across, off center, because it's Kei car. They sometimes do that, they sometimes don't. That works, I guess. Oh god, how did that get there? The mirrors look massive. And a wing to the back, vent on the side, just to give it a bit more of an interesting look, put some body modding on the side. Fuel filler cap on the back as well, because you kind of need to put fuel in your supercar. Add a couple of fog lights to the front. Rear wheel drive, new project. Chub. 660, I don't know, SC. Inline 3, we've got the stroke of the bore the same, and it's just under 660 cubic centimeters. Forged. Harmonic dampener. The engine does not fit the current drive type. God fucking damn it, it's a 660 cubic centimeter engine! Supercharger. Now, I don't think there's a size restriction on superchargers, so I can make the supercharger over 2 times bigger than the engine itself. Exhaust size, yeah. Catalytic converter, yeah. Straight through, and oh, that's not a lot of power. 14.2 horsepower. Hold on, if I put a turbo in it... No, this compressor surge breaks the turbo at 2000 RPM. Got it. With a peak of 135.1 horsepower. Which, when you consider the size of the car, is actually quite a decent bit.